Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 Looney Tunes shorts, and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for Hillbilly Hare, and with me today to form a perfect square dance are my good friends Kamden Spies, Manny, Cruz, and Mark Arnold. Say hi, or howdy, or whatever you guys would say in the South.
Do your partner.
Released on the 12th of August 1950 with a blue ribbon reissue in 1959, it's the 596th of the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. You can find this short on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 3 DVD set, on the Platinum Collection Volume 3 Blu-ray set. It's also on HBO Max, so in other words, it's lost media, so yeah, no one can find it. But as far as YouTube's concerned, it's lost media, because I can't show it here due to copyright, but if you haven't seen this one, we see Bugs walking through the Ozarks, where he encounters Kurt and Pumpkinhead Martin, who thinks Bugs is a koi, and later on, we have the legendary square dance, which we will definitely go through in this review. Just to give you guys a few bits of trivia here, the setting of this short involves a feud between the Hatfields and the McCoys, which has been depicted on film and TV numerous times, and in fact was already depicted in a few Warner Brothers shorts, namely When I Yoo-Hoo, A Feud There Was, and Naughty Neighbors, and there was also a feud at the beginning of Holiday for Drumsticks, which is similar in idea. Now, there was a few things regarding the voice acting in this. So, of course, Mel Blanc voices Bugs, and he voices Kurt Martin, but it was actually the enigmatic John T. Smith, because barely anyone knows anything about him, really. He voices the other hillbilly, Pumpkinhead Martin, and also the square dance caller. So, I'll have a link to that information from Devin Baxter's article, which you should read if you want further details on the history of this short.
John Yelp did a Trailfest blog called Searching for the Smith, where he catalogs about John T. Smith, and I recommend it.
Yeah, indeed, yeah. So, yeah, but he's definitely enigmatic, but if you want some further information, yeah, definitely there'll be a link down below. Now, the other thing, of course, is the square dance itself. So, Kamden, what is so important about the square dance in the Warner Brothers studio at this time?
The studio, square dance, the studio had lots of teams, lots of activity. The studio had a square dancing team, and this is where this came from. Chuck Jones and Ken Harris and many other animators actually did the covers and actually were the artists for the Square Dancing magazine of Los Angeles. They had a square dancing thing during the 50s in the Warner Club News. There is tons of articles about them square dancing as well, just in the Club News itself. Many articles about square dancing from 1950, in fact. So this is where this idea came from, because the studio was square dance crazy, basically.
Wow, it's incredible to think, you know, square dancing. I mean, here it's pretty much non-existent where I'm in any case. And yet the irony is, the writer of this short, Ted Pierce, didn't actually participate in these square dances. So, Mark, what are your thoughts on this wonderful short?
As I may have said on another recording, I don't know which one because we've done so many, but I used to audio tape various Looney Tunes back in the days before home video. And this was one of them because I used to play it on the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner show on the weekends on Saturday mornings. And I didn't care for the first half of the cartoon. It was okay, it's funny, but I loved the second half with the square dance. So I purposely waited for the cartoon to start, and I got to the part where they said, "Sour Billy Joe coming right up," or something like that, and they played it, and I recorded the rest of the cartoon, and I'd play that tape over and over and over, and I got it memorized and everything. This is before they started editing the heck out of it because of violence and things like that. So I love this cartoon.
Of course. No, it's definitely a masterpiece that has a good ending, Mark. So there you go. See? Now, Manny, what are your thoughts on this cartoon? Because you said to me before we recorded that you just love Mel Blanc's delivery in this short, and I totally agree.
I first saw this cartoon sometime after I got into this hobby. This is not one of those I saw as a kid, and actually now that I think about it, the whole part where it says, "Grab a fence post, hold it tight, part you with all your might." I remember that specific clip being used. I think it was for commercials for the Looney Tunes show on Cartoon Network back in sometime in the 2000s, and that's like the most distinct scene of the square dance that always pops in my head.
And that's the part they used to cut out in the 70s. They didn't originally, but then later they did. So they, they grab a fence post and the poke them in the eye, all this stuff, all of that stuff, they cut it out, which made for a very awkward square dance when they cut all that stuff out.
Oh, man. That's like taking, I'm trying to think of a food analogy, but it's not working right now. But anyway.
That's like taking the bacon out of a bacon cheeseburger. There you go.
Well, you can get rid of the cheese because I don't like cheese.
I watch my subscriber count go down.
And hey, just add more bacon. No cheese, you darn fool. And speaking of darn fool, Mel Blanc, obviously his Bugs is great, and just how incredibly talented he is that he could sing the whole square dance routine as Bugs. It's just Mwah, chef's kiss. My 3 favorite insults from Kurt Martin are "you darn fool,"
Hey, you darn fool!
"doomsday day,"
We'll get that critter if it takes until doomsday day.
and "the footy prince."
That there rabbit critter's bound to be around here somewheres. On account of I sees his footy prints.
It slays me every time that I hear it. And Mark, going to what you were saying before, like when I see this cartoon, when I was watching it again, I'm like, the beginning, there are some good gags. It's funny,
Yes, yes.
obviously the vocal stuff is great, and even John T. Smith is doing awesome work as a Pumpkinhead. But it just flips a switch when it gets to the square dance routine. When the square dance starts initially, when the jukebox goes on, you're hearing them playing "Skip to My Lou," but when Bugs unplugs the jukebox, and I just love what they do musically. It's like obviously they changed the song, but they also changed the key and everything, and obviously Mel Blanc doing the vocals. It's just like it builds to that point, and when it does that switch, gets me every time. And it's funny, like I think of the cartoon that first half is good, the second half is great. Makes me think of like the movie Full Metal Jacket, where like the first half is great, and then the second half is like, okay, it's good, but like the first half started so strong. This cartoon is the reverse of that.
I almost think that they had just the idea of doing a square dance in mind, and then they realized, oh, this is only going to be a 3-minute cartoon. We got to get some more material.
I think that could be budgetary reason. I think they probably spent so much money animating the square dance that they basically put in filler to lead up to that point.
Yeah, I'd say so. And I like, of course, Bugs' delivery. My favorite delivery in this short is, of course, when he says, "Oh, boo-hoo, I'll never see my wife."
Boo-hoo! Now I'll never see my wife and young'uns again. Never no more. Boo-hoo!
It's just got the whole deathpan.
I forgot to mention that of the first half, that's my favorite scene right there. Just how deadpan he is when he says that.
He just doesn't see these jokers as a threat at all in this one. That's what makes it so great, of course. And who, of course, doesn't love, when Bugs is dressed up as that hillbilly girl in I don't know what a good term would be for that. What would...
Like a Daisy Mae type from Little Abner or something like
Daisy
that.
Mae, there we go.
Speaking of Bugs dress up as the Daisy Mae, the song
Hold on,
during that
everybody.
scene, I was curious because I'm like, I really like the song that's in the background. It is called "Love Somebody." It was written by Joan Whitney and Alex Kramer. It was published in 1947, and it was recorded by Doris Day and Buddy Clark on my brother's birthday, but 30-something years before he was born, November 21st, 1947, and it was released in 1948 by Columbia Records. So it was definitely in zeitgeist, so to speak, when this cartoon was produced. You hear like the trumpet doing the melody of like a muted trumpet. Oh, so good. And it really adds to the humor of that scene.
I have a lot of Knife Studios original pieces. Many are in my closet. Many are all around my bedroom. I don't know if this was the first one they did, but they did these talking sound animation cells where you press a button and it would play music or a scene or something audio-wise. And this is from Hillbilly Hare, and my sister got it for me for I think my 8th grade graduation.
It's such a great idea, actually, for a cell. You're not only getting a wonderful cell reproduction.
One thing we didn't mention, and this may have been an inspiration too, besides that they were all doing square dancing at Warner Brothers Termite Terrace. Walt Disney's Make Mine Music had that segment, which is now kind of banned, called The Martins and the Coys, and I think that was probably a bit of inspiration too for this.
Yeah. I would also say that the whole Hatfield and McCoys was just ingrained in popular culture anyway at the time.
Yeah,
so.
It was, but I think the film, because it came out a few years earlier, probably wasn't hurting them for ideas or whatever when they're looking around. What should I do? Let's look at this Disney film. Oh, they did this. Maybe we could do something with that,
A few more musical things I wanted to point out. The opening titles has Arkansas Traveler, the stereotypical hillbilly theme, Warner Brothers cartoons. I like Bugs singing I Like Mountain Music in the beginning.
Good old mountain music played by a real hillbilly band.
Also, some of the terms that Bugs uses in these, and I remember when I was younger, like in middle school, high school, whatever, I always watched TV or movies with closed captioning. During the square dance sequence itself, Bugs mentions the Allemande, I'm probably saying it wrong, and a promenade. And just wanted to bring those up real quick. I mean, I don't know anything about square dancing. I mean, I can't square dance. And don't forget,
Neither
folks,
can I.
you can't square dance in a round room, according to Drip Along Daffy. I think that's what it is with the wanted sign for Nasty Canassa. But a promenade itself, it's a French term. It literally means walk, and it's when the couple stand side by side. And the allemande is French for German dance. The allemande was originally a Renaissance and Baroque dance, and it was one of the most common types of instrumental styles that you would hear in Baroque music. And people like Purcell and Bach and Mozart and all those cats, they would write music in that style. So
We were talking earlier about the Chuck Jones being involved in square dancing, and so was the rest of the studio. If you look at the square dancing history archive, they have a lot of even better detail than even Cartoon Research has, like individual drawings and all that. In fact, the only article about this for Cartoon is from Cartoon Brew.
And of course, I'll have a link below to pretty much everything we've discussed in this review. But now, here is Robert McKimson Jr. when myself and Kamden had a chat with him. Hillbilly Hare. I mean,
my favorite too.
Oh my goodness! When I first saw that, as a kid, because we do get Cartoon Network here, I was blown away. And of course, it's a square dance. Really, that's the most memorable. But the rest of the cartoon's great. I mean, so you said it's your favorite, is that right?
Yes, it is. And by the way, my uncle Chuck was an animator on that cartoon, as he was on all 1950 cartoons. So that's especially favorite for me, since two McKimsons were there, my father directing and my Uncle Chuck animating. But it's the animation on that cartoon. And of course, my father loved square dancing. So that was another thing that really made that cartoon special.
One of the things I talked to you about when I interviewed you is that they had a square dancing group at the studio.
Correct. And my father used to, I guess, go once a week square dancing. They had a bunch of people there that they went square dancing with, and they loved it.
Because it's interesting, because we actually don't, as far as I'm aware, we don't really have square dancing here in Australia. So I pretty much learned square dancing from watching this cartoon, believe it or not. It was... I had to look it up.
One of the things that I also wanted to mention, you worked with your Uncle Chuck, like Ruth and Linda did. You also ran a small art business working with your Uncle Chuck and your Uncle Tom for animation cells.
Yes, correct. I was I worked with Warner Brothers for 10 years. From 91 to 01, I was a franchisee of theirs doing limited edition animation cells. And we also had the football, baseball, hockey franchise, and doing the characters in the different uniforms.
Wow.
One of the things that I wanted to mention was that one of the things I have a closet gallery besides just a gallery here, and I have a lot of Ruth stuff in my closet. One of the things is I have a Hillbilly Hare cell, and it's a talking animation cell because it's a serial, but like it basically just sings the square dancing song, a little parts of it. I
mean, speaking of that square dancing song, I mean, who actually came up with that? Was that your father coming up with that, or was it Starling?
No, as I say, my father happened to love square dancing, especially in that era. And I think that's where the idea came up between he and the story man, and putting together a Bugs Bunny with a square dancing sequence. So I think that's probably where it came from.
Because such a great song, and of course Mel Blanc's performance in that one is just absolutely incredible. Plus, it got the wonderful design of Bugs as the girl.
Yeah, it is one of the most famous cartoons out of the studio, and one of my absolute favorites.
I know. I just want to jump in by also saying that the Chuck Jones Gallery had an event a while back, and actually I got your autograph, like an autograph book, because a friend of mine works there named Carol. So that was the first time I ever got signed something from you, Bob. But so they did an event where each director would choose would choose the two favorite, and Bob, you and your family chose Hillbilly Hare and then Walkie Talkie Hockey.
Correct. And I signed, it was a limited edition that, that Linda Jones Gallery did. And I was there in their San Diego gallery, and I had signed the whole edition.
Which is also where you signed my copy of this book.
Oh, good.
Because Carol gave it to me as a Christmas present.
Oh, great.
That would be an awesome Christmas present. for sure. For sure. I mean, I just, looking through this cartoon again, and just, as you say, it's a fantastic cartoon, one of the best the studios ever made. Did your father talk about the cartoon with yourself? Give any other anecdotes of the making of that cartoon?
No, my father did not talk very much about business. He was kind of kept to himself. Every once in a while, he would talk about certain things, and every once in a while, I would go over to the studio, and he would walk me. The studio was originally in Hollywood, and then it would have a place right in back on the back lot of Warner Brothers. So you could go through the gate and then go through the back lot into the commissary and such. So I used to do that on occasion with him.
Wow, that would have been. Did you see anything really interesting in your journeys there?
Oh, I mean, the times I was at both studios, what they call Termite Terrace, and then the new one, when going over there, you meet everybody and you see what's going on, but I was younger then. I really understood, but didn't understand what was going on.
Yeah. No, I understand completely. All right. So as for the rating of this cartoon, I mean, it's got to be 10 out of 10. If this isn't 10 out of 10, what is, basically? Now, I will say, though, if it wasn't for the square dance, though, I might have ranked it maybe 8.5. But the square dance just brings it over the top, and boom, it's just so memorable because of it. So yeah, 10 out of 10 for me.
I'm not going to give it a 10, but it is definitely, I know. Oh, how dare you. I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think that the beginning of the cartoon, it's still really funny, but if it was just a little bit stronger, this definitely would be a 10. I mean, the square dance by itself is like a 10 out of 10, that whole sequence. It's absolutely hilarious. But I mean, 9 out of 10, and I just double checked the 100 greatest Looney Tunes list. This is on that list. It 100% belongs on that list.
If this doesn't get a 10 out of 10, I hope I get hit by a streetcar.
Yes. And Kamden, I'm gonna assume it's the same thing.
Yeah,
for you.
it's a 10. It's a 10 because I'm right. It's
yes.
10.
Yes, well, all right. So 3 against 1 in this case, and it's good to be on the winning side for once. But in any case, we're going to wrap it up here. So thank you all so much for watching, or y'all so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
And that is all. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Bum.
And now you're home. Bow to your partner. Bow to the gent across the hall. And that is all.